Welcome to the Voice of Rio Grande. We are very pleased to be here to start out the month of July, and I am extremely pleased to have our guest here today, Dr. Bill Dingus. Dr. Dingus is the Executive Director of the Point Industrial Park. That's located in Lawrence County.
Yes.
And we're really excited to learn more about what the Point is all about. I know it's the name that you guys go with is the Point, and I think that's a really powerful name for your center, considering the location and everything else that you have to offer there. And talking to you about the focus of the Point, there are just so many things about that name that seem to have some real significance. But before we get into that, Bill, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about just your background. I understand that you're no stranger to Rio, so I hope you'll hit on that a little bit, that at some number of years back that you might have done a little teaching here at the University of Rio Grande and Rio Grande Community College, and that you've had an extensive career in higher education and 14 years or so at the Point. So I'll hand it off to you so we can learn a little bit more about you.
Thank you, Dr. Johnston. Yes, it's an interesting career. And along the way, we did teach at Rio, taught accounting and auditing and some other courses over a matter of 2 or 3 years. Just tremendous experience, probably my engagement into higher education. After that, I became then the director and eventually the dean. It was the same position, but it just had not been elevated, of the Ohio University Southern campus. So I was there 25 years and had the privilege of pulling a team together, a team of 40, 50 people, and we were able to grow from 245 students with a $250,000 budget to an institution of 3,000 students and a $13 million budget. It really did well and served the community well, and had a great life there. So I have a tremendous respect for Rio Grande and the potential and the commitment to service that you offer to the students, and of course definitely have a great love for higher education. So
Great.
Thank you for allowing me to come and share with you today.
Great. That is wonderful. As I'm learning, I have not visited the location yet, but I'm really excited to, and I'm sure this discussion is going to make me get there a lot faster. But I'm just really interested in the kind of how it's organized, what your purpose is. Maybe you can go through some of that with us to kind of set the stage. What is the Point all about?
Well, it is the tool that is of a combined group. In our community, about 25 years ago, we hit rock bottom. Lawrence County had an unemployment of nearly 20%. And we had the 2 chambers of commerces, we had an economic development organization, we had all kinds of agencies. We realized that we had very little future like that, and we united everything. We put the chambers, the economic development, the Convention Visitors Bureau. We had a procurement center. At that time, we had an SBDC center. We had just a whole number of entities, and we pulled all those under one person. And then later on, I was chair of the board at that time, and when I worked at OU, and then later on after I retired from OU, they had asked if I'd come and help to keep things moving for a few months until they found a director when the previous one had gone to Florida, and in turn that was 14 years ago. So things are good. Yeah. But this agency has really fostered the development of the Point Industrial Park. And the Point Industrial Park, if you look from the picture here, you can see the massiveness of the Point. It lies on the Ohio River. It just offers unbelievable opportunity for development. It's about 500 to 600 acres. Had previously been the former Allied Chemical Plant and then the South Point Ethanol Plant. So it really went through a Superfund cleanup.
Oh yeah.
So when we took it over, it had no roads, it had no infrastructure, sewer, water. It had nothing.
Wow.
So we've had the privilege of trying to build a road and bring things together.
That's exciting. And you really don't see that kind of combination. You see so many communities that are striving to make some real significant strides in economic development and to really build foundations within their communities, but there are a lot of factors at play, and those don't always come together. So
that's so unfortunate.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right. And sometimes I blame it run on the old high school football competition. You know, in this area, you'll have
Right.
two communities side by side, and they become bitter enemies and never can,
Right.
you know, and so what happened, we all become little organizations rather than uniting.
Right.
And we need to even unite beyond county level. We need to go
Right.
cross county levels
Right.
a lot.
Do you want to talk any more about those different components, maybe the chamber a little bit, some of the other components, because that is interesting when you think of an entity like that and you've got a chamber as part of that, and plus these other that are very diverse, and to bring that together. But maybe you can talk about those parts a little bit.
Sure. Of course, the chamber is kind of the front organization, and then we have another agency we call the Lawrence Economic Development Corporation, and they're the, I mean, we have things like we own a third of the hotel in Ironton because no one else would invest in it.
Okay.
We've built revenues. We've grown it from about $1 million and a half in assets to 43 million. So we've developed capacity, and we've got the cash liquidity to attract banks to support us. So the LADC agency, coupled with the Chamber of Commerce representing the small business, and then within that agency we have the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So when we built the hotel in Ironton, that was self-serving because we have the bed tax.
Right.
So each piece, we have a procurement outreach center, which also covers Gallia County. It's a regional, 10-county regional center.
Okay.
And then most recently, we created, about 2 years ago, we saw that unless we had trained employees, that you can have all the buildings and all the jobs, but you need trained people. And in turn, we created what we call the Ohio Strategic Training Center, which you're very familiar with
Right.
because it kind of fostered the development of bringing Rio Grande to Lawrence County as
Exactly.
part of our team to move us into a prepared workforce.
Right, right. And I've worked with Dr. Scott Howard
Yes.
as he leads that arm of your organization, and I think there are a lot of possibilities. And that's one of the things I noticed too in learning myself more about the point from a distance. The many assets that you have, you're talking about the acreage that you have. You mentioned that you had 750 jobs that are there
Right,
at the
right.
point right now. You have 3,300 feet of waterfront access.
Deep
You-
waterfront, good for ports.
Exactly, and that's, you know, and you think about the interstate access that's there, Interstate 64, and you think about even the air access with the airport in
Tri-City
Huntington and
Airport Authority.
Tri-City
Yeah.
Airport. So just all of those things, you know, kind of coming together, but also that needs to come with the human resources that you can attract. And so that training component obviously is of interest to us because that's and we're fellow spirits on that, I know,
Well,
in
we
terms of
appreciate
education.
your partnership on that. That
Good
was
deal.
very good. And you know, you can talk about all of these physical resources. Probably my greatest resource is the team that we have put together. You know, with Jeremy Clay, who runs my industrial park, with Vivian Valance, who handles the CVB and many other kinds of grants and so on, and
Right.
Scott Howard, who
Right.
handles all of our training. And right now he is also leading an effort to build a $30 million wellness center that's going to have
you
a
mentioned
number of assets like an occupational health program, have a 24/7 daycare. You know, when you look from midnight to 5 a.m., children are so vulnerable.
Right.
And there's no alternative when you have people who work in hospitals
Sure.
or 24 hours. So it'll have a 24/7 daycare. It'll have a number of swimming pools. Our goal will be that every child in Lawrence County will have a privilege to be on a swim team, and every third grader will learn to swim.
Right.
If we can pull those things off,
Wow.
we have changed. Plus, we have the worst. Lawrence and Sauter County, we rank number 87 and number 88 in health quality in Ohio.
Okay.
We're the world's right near the bottom. So we believe the wellness center can be so totally integrated into the community
Right.
that it can raise the whole health.
Well, I mean, I have no doubt with the things you've talked about and the growth that you helped lead through OU and here at the Point and just throughout your career that you will see those kinds of strides achieved. And
It's the people.
yeah,
You know,
it's
you
a
pull the team together,
Right.
and sometimes you open the door and sometimes you applaud, but it's your
Right.
team, and
Right.
I have been able to assemble a wonderful team.
Yeah. That makes a world of difference. I can
We've got a
echo
number of
that.
things right now with the Point Industrial Park. I mentioned Jeremy. We just broke ground last week on another shell building. We take the risk. A lot of agencies don't have that capacity, so we have built. I think this is shell building number 10 or number 11 that we've actually built as a spec building. On the way up here, I got a call from an industry asking for a copy of the plan. Said we'd like to see it. We may be interested in getting an option on it before you get it finished.
Wow,
so
that'd be nice.
you know, we've been very fortunate, and so
Well,
it's
one
good.
of our alums, Megan Barnes, I know that she's worked with you guys too. So there are just a lot of connections
Tremendous.
that we have. And
Again, the asset of a team.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And Megan is
Huge.
doing a fantastic job, because one of what we believe the real advantage to the Point Industrial Park is its location. You know, when you look at the location, you know, the picture of the point, you saw the river running 3,300 foot along of it. You see a tremendous amount of rail through it. We have 8 miles of private rail hooked into the U.S.'s Heartland Corridor, which were Norfolk Southern runs trains from the Deepwater Port of Norfolk to Columbus right across our industrial park. So an unbelievable opportunity when you look at the network of rails that exist, and then you look at the network of highways. You know, when you look at the interstate highways, and the point is basically positioned within a day's drive of over 50% of the nation's demand.
Right.
So you know, and many of these assets Gallia County share with us.
Right. Right.
You know, it's such we do live in such a great location in Lawrence and Gallia.
We do, and taking advantage of that is the key.
That is right.
It's
That is
untapped in some ways. But in your literature, as I was again trying to do my studying ahead of time, you mentioned that Lawrence County lies within a day's drive of 60% of the U.S. population. That really kind of blew my mind.
Yeah.
And that 80% of the U.S. corporate headquarters are within a day's drive.
Right.
So, I mean, all of those things it seems like just a perfect storm of such when you think about the transportation lines, the team that you've brought together, that, you know, some really great things are going to continue to happen.
Yeah, when you look at location, and Lawrence is no better than Gallia. I mean, with 35 coming through Gallia County,
Right.
I-64 skirting the edge of Lawrence County.
Right.
The interesting thing, the nation's demographics has changed, and manufacturing has changed, and we used to always look to the north, to Michigan, to Detroit, to all of that for the for the auto industry. We see now over Buffalo, West Virginia, and Georgetown, and then also moving into the southern states. You know, the states that we're seeing, the Mercedes and just company after company. Well, what that happens is with the Ford and Chevy here and the others here, we lie right in the middle. So our producers, as we recruit auto parts manufacturing, they can go either way. It's such a great location that we sit in, and I don't think our people have really recognized it.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, that's going to be exciting to see how that grows and how you guys take advantage of that. And we'll be right there with you looking at that and have, being a part of it. So you've talked about some of the interesting things on the horizon. And again, given your career of assembling great teams and really moving the needle at the places that you've been, what do you see as the future? Where do you want to go? When we have another visit like this in a couple of years, what will we be talking about?
Well, it's people. You'd mentioned Megan Barnes, for example. Megan is running our port of South Point, and I believe within the next couple of years you will see huge numbers of containers moving through that port to all parts of the world. You know, the Panama Canal will be opening up in a matter of a year or so, and it will allow freightliners to bring container or bring freightliner loads of containers into the Mobile port or into the New Orleans port, and in turn those are very easy to bring up. Years ago, before the grocery group turned the world against ethanol, we had an ethanol plant ready to be built at the point. And it was an interesting thing when you looked at the the transportation of the corn for the ethanol, it was 36 cents a bushel to move it by truck. It was 29 cents a bushel to move it by rail, and it was 6 cents a bushel by water. So if you talk about the competitive advantage that the Ohio River offers,
Oh, yeah.
it's second to none.
That's great. What about jobs? What do you see? Right now you have 750 jobs
About
there.
750.
Where do you see that going?
I'm expecting within the next 3 years probably be in the 2,000 range. It's if you just talk, those 750 have been created in the last 5 years.
Okay.
Probably 500 of them have been created in the last 3 years. So if we use that same trajectory, I think in 3 to 5 years,
Right.
we ought to be pushing toward the 2,000. We have such a bright future. We have got a great employee base, people from in our area. We have 350,000 people that live within driving distance of the point to
Right.
work.
Right.
But we're also pushing beyond the point. I mean, we're doing things in community development. We're working with a company to try to do some drug rehabilitation. We've got a major problem. So my board's committed investing up to $2 million into bringing in a major rehab program. We're working on the development of another hotel for up at Proctorville. We want to build a new restaurant and hotel at Proctorville.
Okay.
And as things go, I mean, just like the hotel and restaurant, the Frisch's Big Boy we developed in Ironton, those two together created about 80 jobs. So you start adding to these,
Right.
and so it's, the 2,000 jobs that we're shooting for at the point is wonderful.
Right.
But
It's bigger than that.
it's much bigger. I mean, we have to look at all employment, and the whole key that we must realize is that the goal of manufacturing is to bring foreign dollars outside of your community into your community. Those same dollars can come just as easy on travel and tourism. So we also want to start pushing hard in the world of travel and tourism.
So how do you see doing that? Tell me a little bit about the travel and tourism part of
Well,
it.
it's an interesting. We've kind of coined, rather than calling this the Lawrence County CVB, we have defined this as it's Ohio's southern coast.
Oh, how neat.
When you
I
think
like that.
when you think about it, we're the Key West of Ohio.
Yeah.
We're 50 miles south
Right.
of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
50
Southernmost
miles.
tip there.
We really are. So, and we have the Wayne National Forest, which offers the ATV trails, which is very important. So we're now looking at building cabins and leasing those cabins out. We're looking at doing other kinds of things that would actually bring people in.
Yeah.
But I think that developing the hotels, we're looking at one item that unfortunately I can't really share, but it is something that is taking advantage of a national resource that would make our area the focal point for conferences and so on. So for small conferences. So I think,
neat.
but it brings dollars in from Northern Ohio, from Indiana, from Illinois, from wherever to our area. When I was at university, we built a horse park, and that's something that you ought to think about for Rio Grande.
Okay.
You don't make money, but boy, you really, your people love you for it.
Right, right.
But we built the Ohio Horse Park at Franklin Furnace, and through some friends in the American Quarter Horse Association, we got the only sanctioned quarter horse show going in Southern Ohio, and during those shows for about 3 and 4 days, you would have hundreds of campers, of $500,000 motorhomes, of people spending money in the community.
Oh, yeah.
And those are the kind of things that one has to look at. And I see Rio, what Bob Evans Festival does here. The economy, it's valuable.
Such an impact it is.
And what needs to be done, I'm a great believer of trying to build things in groups. And if you can take that for one season and you can develop 4 seasons of those things.
Right.
And like in Ironton, we do a monthly thing. Once a month, we have something like Rally on the River, where we bring in 30,000 people for motorbikes.
Oh, yeah,
You
right,
know,
right.
we have the Memorial Day Parade, and we'll bring 30 to 40,000 people in. So if you can do one a month, if you can
Yeah.
have something big,
Right.
it keeps people coming.
Right, and you have that momentum. That's great.
I got carried away. I
No,
apologize for
no,
that,
that's
but-
it's very interesting. And when I know that there's some things you can't talk about yet, but when you can about some things that
We
might
will.
be, give me a call. I'm interested to
Like
see
to
how
do
those things are going. Well, I mean, one of the things that I wanted to talk about too is, we were talking about the regional benefits, and you've hit on some of these things. But are there any other items that offer opportunities for the whole region? I know you've hit on
Oh.
some of these, but maybe you could talk about some others in the list.
You know, and it's just like your willingness to come to Lawrence County to be part of our development team.
Right.
We have been very fortunate in putting the right people together, and some good things happen. We were able to get state monies and empowerment zone monies and other kinds of things to develop, and we realized that we have a responsibility beyond our borders. And in saying that, it's just like we talk about the procurement center, that basically operates for 10 counties. But we also created a foreign trade zone. So a foreign trade zone is one where product can be brought in from anywhere in the world. The actual band that's put on the container can actually be weighed and not even cut until that container arrives at South Point.
Okay.
But when we did it as a 500-acre general purpose with the option of moving some of those acres to other parts of our region, including Sauda, Jackson, Vinton, and Gallia counties. We specifically said we wanted to reserve that right to do that. So that gives the ability of any of the industries or the people here to have a foreign trade zone.
That's
We
nice.
recently, about 3 weeks ago, we received certification for a regional EB5.
Okay.
So again, for Gallia County, not only can we attract investors from, say, China, what it is, EB5, we have a tendency to throw terms around.
Yeah, let's define that one a little bit, because I think there are a lot of people that aren't really familiar with that. You know,
Okay.
you kind of hear it, and really, what does that mean?
Okay, it's an actually immigration-based type of visa program, and a foreign person who is willing to invest in rural Ohio at least $500,000 and create 10 or 12 jobs, they are eligible to receive a green card and a visa for whoever they so choose, providing they meet, they have good character.
Right.
So this program has really been taken advantage of by Asians, where you have particularly grandparents who want to open opportunities for one of their grandchildren, possibly say to come to Rio Grande, and rather going through it's a bureaucracy to come and get a foreign education visas and follow all the guidelines. So if you can get a green card, you literally have all the benefits of citizenship.
Right.
So indeed, a lot of times the Asians will want to invest this money with the idea of being able to benefit a child or a grandchild. And Gallia County is listed as one of the eligible counties on our application.
Okay.
So when we've done these things, we've tried to think
Yeah.
in a regional way.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think that there's so many people probably listening to us or watching now that had no idea about I think that there are a lot of times that we put industrial parks and what an organization like yours may be doing and kind of put it in a box, and they think about, attracting firms to come in and supporting existing firms. Some people don't even think about that part of it, and those are really important things, and obviously part of your strategy and your work, but there are a lot of other things that are part of that. And
people, and I think you hit on a very good point, and I think when we look at economic development, 90 to 95% of all jobs are created from existing jobs. It's expansions, it's companies bringing in new products that are already existing.
Right.
It's those kind of things. We have the tendency to spend billions of dollars on trying to create new industry.
Right.
And sometimes our own industries and our own communities and our own businesses, they are overlooked.
Right.
And often we actually go out and invest their tax money to bring in people doing the same thing across the street. And
Right.
you know, we're very careful on that.
Yeah.
That's
That's
you know,
good.
we've actually turned down certain industries from the point because we had an existing manufacturer on that product line. So
Very interesting, very interesting. Well, we're very curious on this show, and our listeners and viewers, they're always interested in just kind of personal aspects of our guests, just so we feel like that, you know, for all of us, there's this very focused business purpose, but there's usually more to all of us than that, right? And you were talking about you have a wife and you have 2 daughters.
Yes.
That I know you're very proud of. Tell us a little bit about your family, if you don't mind.
We can, and it's an interesting one. Starting with my wife. My wife was Donna Gillen,
Okay.
and her father owned the Ford agency in Gallipolis, and ran it for many years.
Okay.
So it's been a lot of years ago, but
Yeah.
that's probably been 35, 40 years ago he sold it. So we, you know, her whole family had a real tight relationship with Gallipolis.
Okay.
You know, and then for myself, we'd always had a close relationship. Like Bob Evans was a very close friend, you know, very close. But I have 2 daughters. My youngest daughter, Rebecca, she is faculty, a member at Central Michigan University, finished her PhD at Kent State. And my oldest daughter, Kara Dingus Brooke,
Yeah.
Kara runs the Foundation for Appalachia, Ohio, who is in the process of a major endowment trying to make a legacy for Appalachia.
Wonderful.
And so we're very proud of her family.
I
You know.
bet. Absolutely. That's wonderful. Well, I want to thank you for being here, taking the time to join us, educate us about what you are doing. I look forward to coming down and visiting, learning more about it, working with you guys to make sure that we're all moving in the same direction. I hope that you all have enjoyed this time today that we've had with Dr. Bill Dingus, and we'd love to have you back sometime. We need to hear about some of these developments and
Sounds
things that
good.
are coming along. I hope you'll join us. Next week, we'll have a great lineup at 1 o'clock, starting with Business Talk. Jason Winters and Pat Dingle will host that. Following that, we'll have the show Exposition. That will be Mike Thompson and Valerie Thomas will be on that show. And then at 3 o'clock, join Dr. Richard Sachs, the provost here at the University of Rio Grande and Rio Grande Community College. He will host Voice of Rio. So thank you again for being here, and farewell.